Ew, video games is not something I'd ever actually say. I see games as the apex of artistic expression and scientific pursuit. They can range from social communities bringing people together to living worlds that combine all art forms and blur the lines between fiction and reality. Games can also be a sport too, and that's cool, that's sweet, but that's the one area I really don't know that well, so we're gonna glance over that. The entire concept of a video game is to take all elements of humanity and human expression, yes, all of them, to simulate a distillation of our existence into a new plane of digital reality. And all those big words and mumbo jumbo and hard work is for the sole purpose to give someone joy. I truly do believe that from the bottom of my heart. Anyway, today we're going to talk about video games that have a lot of poop in them.
If you want some poo,
Obviously, the games we're going to talk about today aren't actually ugly. Okay, well, like, they are. I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at. But it's like, you know, the deliberate choice of breaking all the rules of artistry and game design to make something that is actually beautiful, but looks like a computer threw up at first glance. And don't worry, this isn't gonna be the 500th video on YouTube about Cruelty Squad, trust me. Okay, I mean, like, it kinda will be, yeah, but we'll talk about other stuff, don't worry. When you take the pretentious opening I just said a minute ago about video games and boil it down, every video game can be broken up into two halves, art and science. The art side being the visuals, narrative, sound, and game design, and the science side being the programming, systems, mechanics, math, and also game design. All these elements kind of blend into each other. It's immediately apparent in a game like Nidhogg 2 that the artists on the team spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours making the most absolutely disgustingly gorgeous poop piles and monster guts you've ever seen. Grotesque, yes, but so much care, love, and artistry went into the creation of its visuals, you can't help but be in awe. Same with something like Binding of Isaac that has the visual identity of an uncomfortable amount of bodily fluids, but its use of poo-poo pee-pee is used in such a carefully constructed manner, it feels central to its identity. This is common amongst titles that explore body horror or what other genre there may be for lots of naked people and bodily functions. Am I gonna get demonetized for this video? I can talk about this stuff, right? Like, we're good? YouTube? Hello? Like and subscribe? Hello? YouTube? Yes, the horrors of giving birth like in Isaac and Bloodborne and Dead Space can be truly quote-unquote ugly, for lack of a better term. That's not quite what I'm getting at here. See, Nidhogg, Isaac, Bloodborne, Dead Space, these games may feature lots of disturbing imagery to facilitate the juxtaposed idea of artistic beauty and macabre art, but they also have very finely tuned gameplay systems designed to be as intuitive and buttery smooth as possible. When you dismember a half-naked human-alien hybrid monster in Dead Space, it's smooth, fast, and fun. The PvP of Nidhogg is tight, it's responsive, it's simple to grasp but hard to master. Isaac has so much variation in builds, floors, characters, and items it takes actual thousands of hours to see it all. And Bloodborne has just as much narrative depth in its mechanics as it does gameplay depth. The rally system alone rewards the players for playing as animalistic and brutal as the monsters you're hunting. Not to mention the theming of the insight system revealing more of the game world to the players and the build variety in that as well. Fear and Hunger. I haven't actually played that game, but I'm saying its name and letting it fear and linger a little bit, because whatever that game's got going on, add that to my point because I think it's relevant. That's not ugly! None of that is! That's a finely tuned machine that has some Left 4 Dead boomer juice on it. That's beautiful design. The games may look a little gross artistically, but they're not even remotely gross mechanically. Oh, so we can look nasty, but we can't play nasty? If we can get the dichotomy of deprived and repulsive subject matter through artistic qualities, why not through mechanical design? Why not clash tightly woven systems with abstract freak mechanics? We get freaky aesthetically, but mechanically we're never froken to. What's up with that? And that is why I'd like to bring up a little unknown gem of a game that no one's really heard of that does both. Cruelty Squad. Morsels is a game that doesn't really make a lick of sense. Yes, it's a top-down roguelike shooter akin to Isaac, fecal matter imagery included, but how you progress, how it works, unlocking the true ending, and even how you play the game feels incredibly off. You play as a little mouse who wants cheese, so you use magical Yu-Gi-Oh cards to transform into monsters to stop evil corporate cats from also using said Yu-Gi-Oh cards to do things that probably result in you not getting to eat cheese or something. I have no idea what the story is about, but we begin in the sewers with our feces guardian angel, and we move up from the city to forest to heaven to space, battling rats with gats, fat cats, and whatever this is. The main gameplay gimmick of Morsels is that you transform into the morsel you pick. Pick a card and you'll be able to choose between 3 little monsters. You pick Oingo Boingo, Nidhogg from Nidhogg, or a literal rock, then you explore your way through a top-down world made of pixel art, claymation, 3D art, or maybe you ignore all that and you just sit down, crack a cold one, and watch some TV with the boys. I have no clue what changing the channel does, and I have yet to figure out what this scene is even for. And that's kind of the crux of what the game is, for better or worse. You never know what anything does. Ever. At all. In any way. Whatever morsel you pick, you're at the whim of how unwielding they control and handle. Oh, this guy just hurts himself if you stop moving? Okay, that's cool, that's fine. Oh, this guy can't attack if you don't re-pick up his ball? That's awesome, that's great. Oh, this one gets his hat stuck on stuff? That's wonderful, we love that. There is no default character playstyle, and each little gross goblin feels off, moves off, and again, looks off. The stat boosts you get are never explained, and it's difficult to understand the gameplay differences in the moment-to-moment combat. And the pickups you do get and understand are tuned to such an uncomfortable level, they end up throwing you off the rhythm of a game already marching at an uneven tempo. Get the power-up that makes you get a speed boost and you pick up a piece of cheese, all of a sudden you're zipping through the stage at Mach 10 running straight into enemies and walls. Get the mini Nidhogg power-up that circles around you and deals damage, it often bumps into traps you don't want to activate or destroys flower pickups you wanted for extra health. The passive upgrade fuzzy things, no clue what they do, and at the time of writing this, the folks on the wiki are still trying to figure out what some of them do. Why would I want to be more pitiful? I'm not pitiful! After each level is a scene with a character or group of characters who offer you a choice of 2 things. Sometimes it's between 2 good things, sometimes 2 bad, sometimes 1 good, 1 bad. It can be an optional minigame, direct buffs, debuffs, losing characters, money, health. Sometimes it's just watching TV or a whale or whatever Mr. Earman's trying to offer you. It's never quite clear what the choices mean, but the unique characters you meet in the little scenes showing off their personalities really help break up the pacing between levels. Even the secrets to unlock the true ending and final area are esoteric and impossible to figure out. And sure, other roguelikes like Spelunky 2 and Binding of Cryzek do have equally as obscure secrets, mechanics, and progression gates to unlock new content, but unlike Morsels, those games have pretty clear game mechanics that aren't completely and utterly altered on the drop of a dime. That can kinda happen in Isaac often, but there's at least an understanding why Isaac gets morphed into an unrecognizable murder baby. Morsels will ask you game-changing decisions and then not elaborate what it even means or what was even changed. And when I beat the game in 1 hour and then reached the true ending in 4 hours, it's clear its oddball experimental structure and design leaves a bit to be desired depth-wise. Slight spoiler for one secret, so skip 30 seconds ahead if you want to play the game blind. One secret, for example, has you taking a random spawning ticket in level 1 to a randomly spawning bus in level 2. This ticket can be used in other areas, you can't attack while holding it, and it will blow away if you leave it on the ground for too long. You use the ticket, take that bus, and then you go to a sub-area street where you play Crossy Road. But don't beat the level, because at some point you may see a blue light on the side of the screen in which you have to stop what you're doing and walk into the blue light walking completely off screen, which then loads a second secret sub-level where the entire game is made of claymation and turns into an endless runner for that single area. At the very end of the level, after you break a rock you've never seen before, only then will you get 1 piece out of 4 to open up the game's final area. Hey guys, Editor Jacob here. I mixed up the areas, and all this rigmarole with Frogger actually leads to a different secret area called the Lab, not the Wallace and Gromit one. My bad. You access Claytown through a different set of secret hunting, which is whatever. My point still stands. The secrets may be a tad bit esoteric. I digress. Back to the main show. I wonder what the funny YouTube man's gonna say. How would any player think of this? How would they figure this out? Is it cool as heck? Absolutely. We love in-game secrets. Do I like the claymation animation switch? Cheese and crackers, I do. Is it cheese? Is it semi-questionable design to hide such massive amounts of technically needed progression checks to reach the final area and a mountain of development work to make one single level a completely unique art style? 1000% yes. Morsels is a game more than worth playing for its visuals alone. But in terms of being a gross, icky, paint-like goop game, its design itself is intertwined in that paint-like, icky goopness, which creates for interesting gameplay mechanics but not a lot chaotic gameplay depth in Morsels' case. It's an art gallery of grunge, bodily function, sewer core pixel art, and unrepresented old school animation like simple 3D models, claymation, and 8-bit pixels. But it's how Morsels takes its experimental, counterintuitive visuals and molds that into the game design itself, twisting the familiar and classic top-down shooter formula into something often unrecognizable and strange feeling that makes it well worth experiencing, even if that experimentation doesn't always land depth or content length wise. The game may look ugly and it may play ugly, but its soul ain't ugly, that is for sure. Cruelty Squad is half Dishonored if it was made by people who live and breathe LSD, and half r/Wall Street bets. If that ain't the embodiment of ugliness, then I don't know what is. All in on fish, let it ride! I know the video is about ugly games per se, but I won't be talking about the visuals much because you can just see how it looks, so we're gonna focus on other aspects about it. The common sentiment regarding Cruelty Squad is that it's a game built backwards. That every single development decision, from the sound to visuals to programming to game design to controls, was made to be as intentionally unintuitive and irresponsible as possible. Speaking of which, whatever this music is, can we stop playing it, please? It's giving me a headache. Change it to something better, please. Perfect, thank you. The game itself paints this drastically contrarian design philosophy as a metaphor for how capitalism at its core creates systems, environments, and societies that cannot fundamentally function without the pain, suffering, and exploitation of others to benefit the select few. Those select few, of course, are often your selected targets to kill in each level. This stance is seen through the game's dialogue, harsh reality, nonsense stock system, and even its title, as the idea of Cruelty Squad is to be as efficient as humanly possible on the carnage and dehumanization you inflict upon each assassination target. From the suicide button to randomly getting sick and puking up worms that kill you, to the drugs that shrink you in size and soft lock you into being stuck into a wall and you're forced to stare at a naked running man. Why is this game like this? To enemies that completely warp your senses and visuals, to unlocks being behind massive paywalls that you have to attempt and fail to play the stock market to receive. The game holds no punches in its design. It's willing to consistently kill you right at the level's exit repeatedly right before you finish it, which can be especially cruel, Squad, given that this event seems to happen every single time I've spent a dozen tries and hours on a level and then I gave up in frustration since I was inches away from the finish line. To even get the game to run properly, I have to play in windowed mode at a lowered resolution from my monitor, because if I use my monitor's resolution, the game seems to just run significantly worse, and this is apparently normal for everybody? Why do I have to hold down the right mouse button and pull my mouse down to reload? Why is there strange language wall barriers I can't access? Why do I get sick with flesh worms in this room? What does this face on my screen mean? What does that face mean? Why does NPC dialogue block the UI and how you aim and it takes forever to go away? Why are there zombies? What are these creatures? All in on Gorbino's quest stocks? Let her ride? The purposefully aesthetically bad visuals hide rich layers of complex level design and world building secrets. Different player builds, tools, and playstyles are tucked away behind a complex RNG system of investing, constantly shifting graphs cascading down or spiraling up that seem to act upon a whim. Collect organs or fish to invest in one market, or go big and invest directly into the companies itself, in hopes of unlocking the grappling intestine hook or the $1 million suit that drops your health down to just 1. Congruent Squat is a game that is familiar, but only in the lens of immersive sims or free sandbox FPSs like Dishonored, Half-Life Prey, and Bioshock. Underneath its icky paint-like skin of pulsating organs, pus, bodily fluids, and gunk is a deceivingly rich system of interactions and player expression. But just like Morsels, you don't quite know what you're getting into when you make a purchase or unlock a new level. The double jump, for example, a loud, messy gunk move you spent $10,000 on, is actually better used as a way to negate fall damage instead of an actual double jump. And that is exactly how the game wants you to think about all of its mechanics. You see the rotating platform in the level Idiot Party and think it's the way to move from one half of the level to the other more easily, only to miss the jump completely onto it and get launched into the air by the fuck you go to space jump pad, which reveals that the jump pad is the real tool to use to traverse the level easier. The jump pad may seem like a typical abstraction of expectation at first, but it actually opens up opportunities for exploration and movement through a level that seemed way too linear focused. Adding in this goofy little platform reveals the level to be a carefully constructed platforming gauntlet, or with the right gear, a speedrunning tool to start and finish the level as methodically methodically fast as the billionaires you've been hired to take down want you to be. All these over-the-top pretentious things I'm saying is just that the game is a lot better and it has a lot more going on to it than meets the eye. It looks awful, it can play awful at first, and it kind of gives me a legitimate headache, but the more you engage with it, no matter how many times it punches you in the gut, the more you'll get out of it and the more you'll understand that these seemingly random design decisions are actually incredibly insightful and intentful choices made by the creator. Also, I never technically finished the game. I got hard stuck on Idiot Party because, again, the "fuck you, you're an astronaut now" jump pad was really hard to navigate, and I didn't want to grind levels for more money, and my stocks kept tanking, so I couldn't afford the grappling hook or better gear. But I put the same amount of time into it as I did Morsels, so that means this section of the video is now thematically appropriate with the last section, so we're good. Let it rip! Uh-oh, looks like it's time for the double review portion of the video. We're going to talk about two freaky dinky narrative-based adventure games you haven't heard of that use crazy visuals and unconventional storytelling methods. Remember at the beginning of the video when I mentioned that ugly games usually focus on aesthetics but not mechanics, so I made this video to talk about ugly mechanics because I wanted it to be a little bit different than just the artsy side of games? Well, I kinda lied, and we're going to talk about abstract, unconventional, or ugly storytelling as well. I'm a story guy, what can I say? My very first video was me defending Last of Us 2. Like, you have to know I'm like this by now. You've had to have known this is coming. Psychopomp is about a young woman who builds a mind-reading helmet and breaks into government buildings to explore the secret tunneling worlds hidden beneath them. And it's good! A first-person dungeon crawler with light puzzles and a focus on conversations with strange creatures. You talk, you look, you poke, you hammer whoever you meet in your quest to get the eggs of the earth, or something. I don't really know what the goal is here. It's bizarre, man. Just look at this for like 5 seconds and tell me you know what's going on here, because I really don't. The first level takes place in a sewage treatment facility and has creatures made out of fecal matter with anime masks who talk about how great it is to live off of human waste. See, I told you this game fits with the video. It's fine. Level 2 focuses on a secret underground portion of a hospital that only serves the elite members of history. Level 3 is a factory beneath an elementary school which is located there because, and I quote, so that they can take children once their use is outlasted and manufacture their slag into more useful things like butter knives and egg slicers. Sublime. What makes Psychopomp so compelling isn't the strangeness of the setting, nor the horrific imagery combined with moments of serenity. It's the unreliability of our protagonist and what she thinks, feels, and does. She'll give us gameplay tips and historical facts during the loading screens. Did you know? Trees are not the only organisms capable of inoculation. Deers, whales, and humans are also perfectly capable as well. She'll talk about wanting to poke and prod everyone she meets, pulling people's hair, rubbing her hand on slimy skin, petting dogs. You can choose to hammer to death any character you meet, from a lonely, lost, crying young woman to robotic horrors beyond your comprehension. She will gleefully murder anything and everything you want to, not batting an eye to the piles of blood and gore it leaves behind. And every time you kill something, it makes the it makes the like meme sound. You know the one I'm talking about. Sure, there's a light amount of combat and puzzle solving via finding items to use and levers to pull, but the focus is really on soaking in the otherworldly scenery and engaging with the strange creatures you meet. They often look weird and talk weird, sure, but usually they're never actually as weird as you are. And that's the catch with Psychopomp. The protagonist themselves is just as strange as the strange land she finds herself in, commenting bizarre facts about what really goes on in the buildings you explore, and letting you know out loud whatever impulsive thoughts she wants to inflict onto others. It's textbook surrealism, which sounds kind of like an oxymoron, given that something surreal could never really be prescribed to something predetermined as aesthetically textbook or a formula, but the strangeness and unfamiliar diction of the protagonist and inhabitants, combined with classically point-and-click mechanics of movement, creates an easy-to-explore but hard-to-understand landscape of expression from the game's creator. You know that crazy uncle or grandma you have that wears a tinfoil hat and talks about crazy conspiracies like aliens and mole people or the moon landing being real? Imagine you unscrew their skull and jump right inside their brain Psychonaut style, then you'd have something close to Psychopomp.
And here we go, baby!
This game is one of my favorite things anyone has ever made. Yeah. and it's difficult to properly put into words just what this game is about and what it represents. And I mean that literally because I'm not even sure how to pronounce what it's called. Babasaangjaar, just like Babasaangjaar, is a 3D exploration game with a focus on exploring bizarre worlds and interacting with even more bizarre characters. The game takes place on Christmas Day and is about a young man returning home for the holidays, only to find his family is missing, and all that remains is a VCR and a videotape from his childhood, which you put in, travel back to the past, and explore yesterday how you somewhat kind of fuzzily remember it being. It's a game about nostalgia. As the itch.io page puts it, it's a 3D semi-horror adventure game slash interactable diorama of sorts, taking heavy inspirations from the theater of absurd, surrealism, many works of the internet user Pilot Red Sun, and most importantly, 20X era internet humors such as YouTube Poop and amateur motion films made with Gary's Mod and Source Filmmaker.
Next time, eat a salad.
It is aggressively 2000s internet culture. Also, yeah, it's on itch.io, and this is technically only a demo and not the full game, and it was featured in the Haunted PS1 Spectral Mall demo disc, which is how I found it. And if what I'm saying sounds completely foreign to you and you have no clue what I'm talking about at all, just look the stuff up, go play it. It's all free, it's all fantastic, and it's all from very, very indie game developers. What sets up Babasaangjaar apart from its peers like Psychopomp is that it's a game built to fixate on an imagery and concepts from the 2000s and post-millennial childhood. Shoutouts to me. And it twists that fixation to be as hazy, nonsensical, and absurd as our memories make it out to be. The language of the game is abstract. Nearly every character speaks grammatically incorrect, throwing in random words, syllables, noises, sounds into their dialogue. Art styles from person to person will shift or change. Characters will act like they're glitching, but that's just how they are. Environments can be staticky or sometimes outright missing, purposefully missing textures both in the game world and within the game's engine. But there is in-universe, in-game reasoning for this. As each level is a VHS you yourself filmed as a young man, the staticky and missing portions of the level are actually areas you never filmed as a kid, so you yourself is using your memory to fill in the gaps, which is, you know, exactly how remembering your childhood works. Even when you see videos of yourself young, there's a bit of cognitive dissonance in understanding that the version of yourself you're looking at isn't you anymore. You're looking back at a time and place that no longer exists, with no one there anymore. Because even if you're watching a childhood video in the same home you grew up in, even if your parents, siblings, loved ones, whatever, were in that video, your true, real family is somewhere in another house in another time. Side note, speaking of game engines, this game was made in Game Maker. You know, the Undertale engine. The fact that it's a 3D explorable world to me is just, oh my god, it's crazy. It's so good.
Come on, baby, go. Baby.
This is the funniest cutscene I've ever seen in a game, and it gets me so good every time. Oh my god. When me and my buddy played through this game the first time we found it, we laughed so hard. And with the existential bittersweet melancholy of looking back into your childhood, Babasaangjaar uses humor as a way to make its surrealism both more potent and engaging. That cutscene alone is really funny to me, sure, but in general, this is without a doubt the funniest game I've ever played, and it's only an hour and has 3 levels. It's beautiful, dude. You'll get an incredibly real and raw scene of you as a young boy eavesdropping on your parents talking about how worried they are about you and your mental state. And then you'll go to the comic section of a video store and you'll see stuff like this. For every Scrungus DX poster you find, you're also met with an equally eerie scene or dialogue exchange. The game definitely focuses much more on the humor than the horror, don't get me wrong, but that only makes the more dark encounters hit even harder. When I first played the game, the best way I could properly describe it was that it was like someone tried to make a game using only AI, but they did it all man-made without using any AI. They were just mimicking the styling of it. And this game was published during the more infant stage of AI use about 2 or 3 years ago. Remember that weird, gross Will Smith spaghetti videos? Yeah, that kind of AI is the kind it's mimicking. But again, it's all deliberately man-made. Even booting up the game, when you go into the properties of the .exe file, the description of the game says illegal entertainment, deliberately misspelling it as if the game files themselves are part of the game world. It says it on the key art too, except it's spelled correctly there. And when you switch controls from controller to keyboard, there's a little pop-up that says a cute little phrase that you switched, and there's multiple phrases too. The creator didn't have to do that, but that's so good. When you activate the jukebox and change the music in the mall, every single NPC bobs their heads to the new music. Wow, there's so much attention to detail. There's a monumental amount of love and depth put into the game, not to mention the overflowing amount of passion and love for its inspirations. It's a game I highly recommend as legitimately one of my favorite experiences in the 20 plus years I've been playing video games. Yes, all you do is walk around, explore, and talk to people, but I promise the way it's done is just so special. And it's made by one guy, but that one guy is a South Korean developer who made it and then got drafted into the South Korean military, and he's now working on other projects, so it's indefinitely on hold, which means the game will never be finished. Why did they have to BTS my man? I love his work. Just let him cook, please. I literally didn't want to make a video covering Babasaangjaar yet because I want a bigger following, specifically so I can send that following to go see the game. That's how much I love it. I want like 1 million billion subs specifically so they can go play this game, not to actually follow me. And please go give the game a shot and go follow Zik's work. It's such phenomenal stuff, and I'm so excited to see the games he makes in the future. Zik! Finish Babasaangjaar and my life is yours! I use the term ugly for this video to categorize more abstract, bizarre, and hard to understand games. But both Psychopass and Baba Yaga aren't ugly by any means at all. They're just a little weird. I chose the two to slam jam together due to how similar they are in concept and design. Both are about exploring abstract surrealist worlds focused on reminiscing a reality that may or may not even exist. Both have 3 areas with a focus on running around, doing little puzzles, and talking to weirdo wacko NPCs. Both have unreliable narrators. They're each an hour long. They're both made by a solo creator, each game rewarding the player with a heartfelt message after they finish the game. Pomp and Circumstance gives you a song, while Baby Jar gives you a personal thank you. Whereas Psycho is focused on industrial grunge and metal work, Baba is more Y2K Art Deco. But they both capture the more complex underside of creativity, such as nostalgia, otherworldliness, melancholy, abstraction, wistfulness, and the unknown. They're both just so fantastic. Go play them now, please. They're both free. Come on, just play the games, little bro. Pick up the controller. Within the game collection UFO 50, which is phenomenal in its own right, there's a game called Mooncat. A simple platformer on the surface that looks like any run-of-the-mill 80s, 90s pixel art jumper or whatever. However, the controls are completely unusable. This is all the control screen tells you. Controls are reversed. You have to hold multiple buttons to do simple prompts like jumping. Every button on the left side of the controller does one thing. Every button on the right side of the controller does a different thing. You combine and mix and match them. It's a mess.
You hold left and then press A when you want to jump.
And telling you the controls literally spoils the game.
All right.
I know I said Cruelty Squad played weird, but how you move and jump in Mooncat is literally unlike anything I've ever played. It looks a bit odd, sure, but nothing that strange. What makes it so crazy, weird, and different is its mechanics and only its mechanics. While playing through it, I found myself often looking at my controller and hands, and I really had to think deeply about the buttons I was pressing. I had to focus so hard to rewire the decades of gameplaying I had ingrained in my brain because this game fundamentally was nothing like anything I've ever played. Ew, bad, ugly design, ugh, is not what I'd actually call it. Because a game like Mooncat showed me that we still have so much to learn about the medium, art form, and science of interactive media. Beneath the fighting of muscle memory and my frustration at the oddity of the game, Mooncat is a strong platformer that plays like a game made by someone who understands and loves video games at their core. Not just the beautiful artistry and design in them, but the messy, unbeautiful aspects of gaming at its core.
Okay, honestly, I don't mind a little weirdness.
Games like Morsels, Cruelty Squad, Psychopomp, Babasaangjaar, Mooncat, I don't know, fucking bug snacks. I guess. Also, like, as I'm writing this, both Mugenics and Romeo is a Dead Man came out today, and I have them both downloading right now. But there's no way I'm gonna push the video back like another month to include them. But I'm 99% sure they both fit exactly this topic I've been talking about, especially Mugenics, which I am very excited to play. But man, it's got some. Remember when I said Fear and Hunger? We'll add Mugenic to that too. Blah blah blah, gross abstract art, blah blah blah, taboo topics and outlandish design. You've been here for a half hour. You know what I'm talking about. Games like those show us that the possibilities of how a game can look, sound, feel, and play is endless. Even with the medium of video games being 40, 50 years old now, we've barely scratched the surface of the capabilities of what they can do and how they can do it. Just because we have half a century of game design evolution and iteration doesn't even mean that we know anything or have to follow it. I thought we perfected platformers until I played Mooncat, when I realized I can look at it in a completely different way than I've been taught. When you see a strange game on Steam, itch, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, whatever. No, not the AI porn games. That's not what I'm talking about. Not those. No offense, Sex with Hitler 2. We all love you, of course. But when you see a strange title that looks bizarre or out of your wheelhouse, maybe even a little headache-inducing, I urge you to give it a shot. Please. Share it in the comments. Spread it around. Talk about it. Just play it. Give it a try and let people know if it's amazing. I think you'll find really creative, special, and heartfelt experiences crafted in a certain way nothing else but that specific game can deliver. No matter how ugly something looks at first, a real human being, usually several real human beings, poured hundreds of thousands of hours into making it just for you, just so you can have a little bit of fun. And that's the greatest gift anyone can give. Let it ride!